Fellow auto detailers, welcome to the show that features interviews with today's most successful auto detailers. This is the Auto Detailing Podcast. Here's your host, Jimbo Balaam.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to this episode of the Auto Detailing Podcast. Just wanted to jump in real quick and do a nice little intro for you. Two kind of cool things going on. One, Mobile Tech Expo is coming up. Starts this Saturday and Sunday down in Orlando, Florida. So last week's episode with Jason Rose was about that and the IDA's role there. If you're going to be at Mobile Tech Expo, let me know. Love to meet up with you, shake hands, take a picture, whatever you'd like to do. I'll be there both days. Also, second announcement is the Detailer Inner Circle starting sometime in February. I'm in the final stages of finalizing the deal with a product company that we're going to be offering 40% off to people who are in the Detailer Inner Circle. So we're just working on the back end pieces of that. So if you're in the Inner Circle, look forward to that. If you're thinking about joining the Detailer Inner Circle, I would suggest getting in now early so we can, you'll see the whole rollout there. It's only going to be for people in the Detailer Inner Circle. So on top of all the marketing material, all the trainings we have in there, we're going to be offering you 40% off of a product line. They're going to be coming in and sponsoring, not the podcast, but the Detailer Inner Circle. So if you want to find out more information on that, you can check out detailerinnercircle.com. But this week's episode with Roman, Roman does have a last name, and I'm not going to butcher it, so I'm not even going to try to say it. He says it in the beginning of the episode. But Roman is a mobile detailer out of the Joliet, Illinois, Chicago, Illinois area. So we talk a little bit about detailing in different types of colder climates and some tips and tricks on that. So hope you guys enjoy this episode. All right, welcome to episode 319 of the Auto Detailing Podcast. I'm Jimbo, your host, and today I'm super excited and to have Roman. And Roman, I forgot to ask your last name, but I had a feeling that even if you repeated it a few times, I'd still get it wrong. So for the whole world, can you pronounce your last name for us?
Yeah, it's Brzozowski.
Brzozowski. I guess it looks a little if you hear someone say it.
Oh, yeah. I actually, one time I had my dean in my school have a competition with the other teachers to spell my last name.
Oh,
so
man.
I don't know if it's good or bad to be in the dean's dean's office.
That's funny. And Roman, you reached out to have this conversation, and I really, really appreciate that because I love hearing all these different detailers and the aspects of their detailing world. And I feel like sometimes I can live in a little cocoon out in Southern California when I can sit outside mid-January like I am right now, and it's, pushing 70 degrees. So you're not in that same situation. And I like getting different perspectives. So why don't you, if you would, fill everyone in on kind of where you're at in the country, and then how you got into detailing and why you got into detailing.
Yeah, so I'm near Chicago. I'm actually in Joliet, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. And it's pretty cold out here, although it feels warm out because it's 32 degrees instead of negative 10, which is nice.
Yeah.
So, and I started out, actually it was a hobby. I was going to school. I had 2 part-time jobs, and I figured, hey, why don't I, start detailing cars on the side? And how it happened was I had an 88 Mustang GT that I always cleaned, and the neighbor said, hey, you're going to clean the paint off of that thing. And I, one day, my next door neighbor, a sweet old lady, asked me, hey, can you wash my car for me? I did, and I did it for free, but she gave me $10 tip, and I was like, hey, maybe I can make money doing this.
Nice. What year was that?
Oh boy, ago? Yeah, that was like the turn of the century. Let's see, that was probably in the late 90s is when it started up as a hobby. So yeah.
Nice. And how did it progress from there? You said you had 2 part-time jobs?
Yeah, at the time I was going to school full time and had 2 part-time jobs, and just started out doing friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, cars, and just doing it out of my mom's garage in Chicago near Midway Airport, and just kind of little by little, started to think, hey, instead of just how can I make a little money doing this into how can I start it into a business, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
How long did you do it as a hobby before you started having those thoughts?
Yeah. So, I mean, probably that first year, I was, more or less just thinking along of the hobby, of a hobby. And then probably within a year, I started to think, hey, how can I turn this into a business?
So after college, you were just talking about, after about a year, you decided that you should probably take it as, or just started thinking about taking it more serious as a business. After college, did you already have it established as a business, and did you ever go into any other fields other than detailing?
So as I was in college, I was pretty much still kind of a part-time business, but I did apply a lot of the things I was doing in college to my business, which is, I focused on business management and marketing, and then they had a certificate for entrepreneurship. So we had a small business marketing class, we had a business planning class, a small business finance.
Oh, wow.
And those projects we could do, and each one of those, I volunteered my business idea as a project. So I'd have people help me out with that, and
Oh, wow.
that was kind of useful. And no, I mean, other than the detailing, I haven't really before then. I haven't had any other businesses at all. So that was kind of my first step into any entrepreneurship. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, and then you started out of your mom's garage, you said, and then when you kind of decided to make it a real business, I guess, quote unquote, real business, did you go out mobile then? Or because obviously you deal with pretty extreme weather, I would think, right? So how did that kind of play out?
Right. So yeah, basically after I did decide to, hey, let's turn this into a business. I actually just bought a standard panel van, the 4150. I put a water tank, pressure washer, generator, air compressor, all that stuff in there. And then pretty much just started it that way. I had one van and I would just make house calls. And yeah, the winters are rough, and there are some things that you can do out here in the winter, but then when you do get the, I would say once you get below the high 20s, you're very limited on what you can do outdoors. So yeah.
So what do you do in that situation? Do you just shut down? And is this mid 90s you're talking now? Mid 90s, early 2000s?
So that'd be early 2000s. I technically started the business in 2003. And we do work year round. We're actually, right now, we're pretty much working. Actually, today and yesterday, we're kind of slow. But we've got a few options. One is we have some commercial accounts we've built up where people have warehouse space, or it's just more of an indoor type business where we can work. And then the other is I threw a heater in my house, so in the garage of my house. So I actually will do some work in my garage as well. Okay. But it's definitely not a shop.
Right. Okay. And so now, do you have more than one van? Do you have multiple guys working for you, or how is it, or is it still just you?
Right. So yeah, it's more than one. So right now I've got two vehicles pretty much working full time, and then it's myself and my partner. And then as far as my business goes, I do a lot of networking with a lot of the other detailers in my area. So I'll also do a little bit of contracting as well. Yeah. So, I actually
love that idea. I don't think I've talked about it yet on the podcast, but that's actually something that I've been playing with and having really good success with, and just finding a couple local detailers that are good at what they do, that aren't as busy or have more gaps in their schedule. And I personally team up with them and knock out the job. But that is like I love that idea. It's a little gem that really works extremely well.
Yeah. I really like it too. And, within probably a 30-mile radius of me, I know most of the other detailers here. And for the most part, we all have a really good relationship. And, I see it, a lot of people see it as competition, but I see it as an opportunity. It's just, there's only so much you could do on your own.
100%. There's so, and I view it kind of the same way. It's like, look, I can't even, if all the detailers in my area too, if we all got together, we couldn't do all the cars. And so it's
Right.
nor do I want to do all the cars.
Right.
So it's you and your partner. So you both have you each have your own vans. Is that how that works?
Yeah. Right now I have a pickup truck, and then my partner's got a van. So,
Gotcha.
yep.
Awesome. So what are some tips and tricks that you've kind of that you've come up with along the way to kind of work during those colder months? Is there any like hacks that guys could pick up, or how do you keep work coming in the door? How do you sell services when it's kind of crappy outside? How does that work? Because I'm completely naive to all that. It's like out here, it's like if it's going to rain on a Wednesday, no one's getting anything done, no matter how much it's going to rain, or even if it ends up raining.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff with the winter issue. One is, of course, everything starts freezing. So if you are working outdoors, we can actually do pretty successfully exterior detailing, even in the high 20s, just depending on the wind chill. I mean, the wind chill can take that high 20s and turn it into teens, which then, that's difficult. But as far as, we've got water tanks on both of our vans. And one little tip is you can put some isopropyl alcohol into the tank, and that will actually help with preventing the actual tank from freezing. Wow. I mean, we've got 100-gallon tanks, and I may put up to half a bottle of alcohol in there just to keep it from freezing. And then another thing is you can have a little quick connect release with a shutoff valve at the base of your water tank. So what you do is you'll drain your hose and then shut off the water tank. So worst case scenario, the only thing that's really going to freeze is the very opening of your water tank, which you may have to deal with by either chipping away a little with a screwdriver or using a heat gun to get it going again. And, it's not fun all the time, but
right. But it gets
work.
You by. Yeah, you can make it work. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. I would have never known that. What are you restricted as far as or how, maybe not restricted, but how do you work around products themselves either freezing or not working properly? I've been seeing some things on Facebook of and in the Detailer Inner Circle, guys, products not responding how they normally would in higher temperatures or 40s and 50s degrees. Is there any workarounds for that?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the bottles freezing, I mean, the best thing to do is just have a couple totes of whatever products you have and bring them indoors overnight. And then the other trick is, in the morning before I head out on the colder days, I'll fill at least 2 5-gallon pails with the tops and with hot water. And then if I really need to, for any reason, I can drop a bottle of product that may have froze or frosted up in there. And by the time I get to the job, it'll be thawed. And also I have some at least warm water to work with. Right.
Huh. Interesting. What changes have you seen in your business from the early 2000s or even 2003, which I guess would be the early 2000s? But what changes and being in business that long, you've got to be not only good at what you do, but also a sound business person too. So what are some key things that you focus on to help grow your business and keep it thriving?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess as far as the business side of it and marketing and management, I mean, with technology, the internet, smartphones, there's so much you can do now that you could never do back, maybe you could do some of it, but in the late 90s, I mean, it was pretty poor. But so I mean, just that is just having everything organized is so much easier now with the technology. And then with marketing, I mean, for my business, reviews is a lot. I mean, reviews is huge, getting good reviews. So luckily because we've been around for so long, we have a pretty strong foothold in the industry or in the area with our marketing. So our reviews are really good. And, that's bringing a lot of business in.
Is there any way that you solicit those reviews from your customers? Do Do you like follow up with a text message asking them and a link, or how have you built up those reviews?
Yeah, so it used to be just kind of asking people, but starting last year, I started using a scheduling software that has that built in. So as long as I use the app and put everything in there, the customer will get an email after the appointment saying, hey, we hope you enjoyed the service, and it'll actually request and I could ask which one, it could request a Google review or a Yelp review or something else. So yeah, I have that set up now, so it's mostly automated.
What's that service? What's that app called?
Yeah, the one I'm using now is called My Time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And has that really helped spike the reviews?
Yeah, it has. I've definitely gotten a lot more reviews just in recent history because of it.
Okay. Interesting. I know reviews are so vital to everyone's business, but it's always like that weird balance or area or asking the customer for a review, because it's always like, well, the most satisfied customers are the ones that don't leave reviews, really,
Right.
because they're happy with it and they're happy with your service. They don't really care. And, it seems like at least guys that write in and talk to me, and a little bit of what I experience, it's like some of the disgruntled customers are the fastest ones to write a review.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But it seems like the way to combat that is to get out in front of them and get positive reviews. So I like that idea of chasing them down like that.
Yeah.
Are there any other tips, tricks, whether it's relating to product or marketing that you have noticed have been working really well for you, or any advice that you'd give to other detailers out there, either working in colder climates or seasons?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, as far as the colder climates, one of the things we've had some luck with is picking up some accounts that are indoor accounts where, it may be a customer that's a corporation and has a fleet of vehicles indoors, and you could actually do the work indoors. I mean, that's great if you could get something like that. Another idea for cold climates, if you're mobile, is during the winter. I know there's some guys that'll just team up with, some other auto-related business that may have an open bay and willing to rent it out even on a per car basis, just giving a little commission or something. So
oh yeah,
that's another idea.
I love that. Huh.
Yeah.
I try to always suggest, there's always a workaround. There's always a way to try to figure it out. And I'm kind of excited to see all these guys that work in places that snow a lot and in cold weather. I think it's so cool. And then I think it's even cooler to be a mobile detailer, during those types of times. You really, really got to want it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Is there anything else that you would like to add, or any other topics that you really wanted to get out there and make sure we're covered, or do you think we covered it all?
Yeah, I guess, one other idea is for those people out there maybe listening to this, just starting out or thinking about starting detailing, just like any other business, I'm assuming it's not something that just happens overnight. The first, and I'm sure I could have done it much, I probably took the hard road, but, it took me a couple of years before I really started paying myself. And,
right.
That's something I think people need to realize. And again, not that you have to do it that way. I'm sure I was just dumb or, I didn't know what I was doing at the time. So definitely get I think training's a key, not only training for detailing, but, business training, marketing training, and all that stuff's online. You could, like with your program you have, and there's so much you could do to research on there to learn as much as you can and get an edge, because you really need it.
It's so interesting, and that's barking up the right tree for me, is that, I think training in general is very beneficial, right? And could really, cut some years of heartache off your life, but so many guys only focus on the training when it comes to how to detail a car. And I think that, there's such a need for business training and marketing training. And that's kind of why I've chose to take that angle with the Detailer Inner Circle and stuff like that. But my big argument is kind of, like you have, it's like, well, it does matter how good of a detailer you are, but it doesn't until you can get the client.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And yeah, in fact, I mean, when I first started, I really didn't know that much about detailing. And I mean, just the fact that I was friendly, professional, showed up on time, I mean,
Right.
honestly, I could have been like, not even better than average. I could have been a below average detailer, and just because of my attitude and stuff, I could make up for it, and that's
100%.
one thing people got to realize.
It's funny you brought that up. I was just talking to my client this morning, and he was talking about his carpet cleaner for his boat. The guy showed up like an hour and a half late, and then when he showed up, he didn't even really have the right equipment, and blah, 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 blah. And it made me think of kind of like the story that you just had. I'm like, when I first started, I didn't know hardly anything about detailing, but I knew how to show up when I said I would,
Right.
And it's like, I remember clients being like, oh my gosh, you showed up, and me kind of being confused, like, well, yeah, what do you mean I showed up? Like, isn't that how business, I thought it was just like normal. Like, well, yeah, I told you I was going to be here Thursday at 9. Like, what do you think? But it's actually something so simple is actually so rare,
Right.
Which is pretty crazy that you could be, like you said, a somewhat, well, for me, I was a significant amateur, a real amateur at detailing, yet just being able to show up on time, leads to more and more work. It's crazy.
Right. Exactly.
It's crazy. Cool. So if anyone wants to, maybe they're in the Chicago area, they want to network with you, maybe you could pass some jobs off to them or whatever. How can guys get a hold of you?
Yeah, so the best way, I'll give you my email, is elitedetailingservice@gmail.com.
Awesome. And I'll link that up in the show notes. Any last parting words that you want to share with everyone?
Well, just detailing is definitely a fun industry, and it's one of those things where I think it's unique in some senses. And, if it's something you're in or want to get into, go into it, with your, all your abilities, and just, commit to being someone that's going to improve, and that's really the key.
Nice. Love it. All right, guys, thanks for listening to this episode 319 of the Auto Detailing Podcast. Again, probably, and thanks to Roman for taking time out of his busy schedule, his busy day to make this happen. I ended up rescheduling on him a few times because my family ended up getting the flu, and so I appreciate him being flexible. One thing I'm really, really, really excited about, the Detailer Inner Circle, and being able to offer the members of the Detailer Inner Circle 40% off on products and liquids coming up here in February. So definitely, if you have any questions about the Detailer Inner Circle at all, feel free to reach out to me. But I really hope this will incentivize some more people to join. And it's a way to really get your membership paid for. So join the Detailer Inner Circle. We have a ton of marketing, a ton of sales trainings and advice. We have a live group with everyone else in the Detailer Inner Circle. Guys get a ton of value out of. And now, bringing it up one more notch, we're going to offer you 40% off of a product brand. So super excited for that. Detailerinnercircle.com. See you guys at Mobile Tech. And if you're not at Mobile Tech, I'll see you on the next episode.